Perfect.
Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt, and thank you so much for being here. If you did wake up this morning, because I know that is a choice each and every day. Today, I've got lined up a really cool guest. He's an outstanding young man. We've known him a little while here, and he may be going through some of the things that a lot of our listeners are going through, which is just major life change in the midst of all of this. So the world is going through this thing where there's all this uncertainty, and you maybe you had some plans set aside for yourself. And then you're in a place where you're going, well, now what's going to happen? So our guest here, his name is Raymond, and he is a high school senior. So a lot of his plans and hopes and dreams have been sort of put into question here. And so we're going to talk to him about some of that and some of the other things he's got going on. Hello, Mr. Raymond.
Hey, how are you?
Dude, happy to be alive.
Same here.
So tell me about your situation right now. You are a high school senior, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a high school senior at Brophy right now.
Brophy, that's cool. That's where I went to school, you know.
Yeah, I've heard a couple stories.
Uh-oh.
They're all good things. All good things.
Okay, well then you didn't hear the real stuff probably.
That's for later.
So you're a high school senior. So you're one of these guys who, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna walk, right?
They're still deciding. I mean, we're hoping we can walk at some point, but right now they're looking at mid-June, maybe even like early August. But we have a tentative date on the calendar. But I mean, it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's a weird situation. It's definitely not what we were expecting going into high school.
And no prom, right?
Yeah, that's up in the air too. Brophy's being pretty good about trying to give us a prom, but as it looks right now, we have something on the calendar at the same place around graduation. But a lot of high schools around here aren't even planning on one. So it's definitely a bummer to have to postpone it and cancel the senior events that we were looking forward to.
Yeah. Kind of ruins the senior prank too. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Well, this is the senior prank. What do you mean?
I was hoping you were gonna say that. So how you feeling? So talk to me about what's going on in your heart, and maybe I can have some advice for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, the big thing is not being able to see friends, that I've known for 4 years. That one day we just went to school, and that was our last day at Brophy. Like going to school for 3.75 years, and then one day just saying, "Oh, that was your last day of school," and then not seeing my friends in a couple weeks, and knowing that I'm not going to see them until whenever graduation hits. So I mean, that's definitely a challenge I'm dealing with, and I know that a lot of my friends at different high schools are dealing with as well. So I mean, in a time like this, that's something that is pretty hard.
Yeah. So are you planning things where you see each other via video and stuff, or?
Yeah, we are. I mean, we do like a Zoom call, here and there, talking, catching up about normal stuff. But it's just not the same not having that face-to-face contact you see every day, high-fiving in the halls, the normal high schooler things.
Yeah, sure. So let's go back here for a second, and I think it's important that because there's no doubt. I mean, maybe your class caught this like short end of the stick thing, right? And at least that's how it could feel.
Yeah.
You get all this way, and you have all these plans, and then it doesn't happen. So I think one of the questions you got to ask yourself is not what, but why. Why is that important? Why is walking important? Why is the prom important?
Yeah, I mean, over the past 4 years, you look forward to something and you see all the other classes do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when that's kind of changed, I guess, or when it's, modified in a way that you weren't expecting, it kind of hits you by surprise.
Right.
And I mean, it's not that they're, this vital thing that we need to be happy as seniors, but just something that you're looking forward to and seeing all the other classes do. It's something that you kind of have an expectation for.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
Totally. But that doesn't mean. But what's interesting is that's not a good why.
No, it's not at all.
So what's the why?
I'm not sure. I mean, for me, it's just I miss people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I miss having that everyday connection with people that you can't really have over video. But I mean, through this time, it's given me a lot of ways to connect with people I wouldn't have otherwise thought, if that makes sense too.
Like what?
Like, take my one friend for example. Like, he's been going through a pretty rough time, and
Okay.
with the whole coronavirus situation, he's one of the people that's on like complete lockdown, like can't leave his house because of some family situations. And him and I have connected through video more than him and I ever connected just in person, because we've had more time to, there's a reason to connect over video. So I mean, though there is some disappointment in this, there's some huge blessings that have come from it. So I mean, with everything, there's positive, there's negatives, but this one, I mean, I think more good has come from it in a personal sense. And camaraderie as a 2020 class than just missing graduation and just missing being able to walk.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because even, again, uh let's go back to the why and talk about walking. So, my buddy Joey over here, he's the one that's giggling.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hi.
So we had to claw and scratch to help him get graduated, and it was a big deal. He
Yeah, I
had to
remember that.
he had to work pretty hard, and he was. It's funny because he was doing online school way before it was cool.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did it before it was a trend.
Yeah, yeah.
you started the trend, Joey.
Oh,
Exactly.
thanks, yeah.
Like he was wearing masks early, and he was, I mean, Joey's an absolute trendsetter. But no, I mean, he got sick, or young age, and so, what's funny is I actually told Joey some of this stuff back when I said, you still have to hold you accountable, because there were times when that wasn't happening, and he didn't have somebody holding him accountable necessarily, and he wasn't doing it for himself, and so we get to this like idea of going to school, and I'm like, I don't care if you're sick. I mean, you have options to get done online. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. You made choices, and now you're dealing with the consequences, which is having to follow through in a different way. And long story short, he's now graduated, and he's crushing it in ways that kind of we never even imagined he'd be crushing it. And but when he got graduated, he mentioned to me, he's like, I don't really there's an opportunity to walk in this setting, but I don't really want to. And I was like, okay, why? Well, he'd already moved on. So what is the idea of walking? The idea of walking is to sort of it's to stop for a second, To walk is to be recognized, to be seen. So you got to go, your whole class has to go back, and I get it. Is it fair? No. But what's your why? There's no reason to be sad. What I think what you need to be focused on is your next move already.
Yeah.
You just don't get to stand around and be watched and be clapped at. You got to grow up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a real opportunity to. in a way that, I mean, I didn't think we were expecting.
Right.
And it's, I mean, if you look at it in that way, if you look at it in a way that it's an opportunity to really take a step that's not expected, that's not, looked upon as normal, and be able to like look forward to college and look at your next move. I mean, I think that's a really good point that you're making.
Yeah, that, and it's like, how can I take this moment right now and do something extraordinary?
Right.
You
How can
know,
you do some good in this time of so
it's very
uncertainty?
easy to feel sorry for oneself. Like, it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
And then you find out usually that the people who had it the worst were complaining the least.
Yeah.
You know, so we talk about the healthcare workers and grocery store workers who are all in the front lines serving everybody else who has to be home. And then you realize they wish they were home.
Yeah.
And grass is always greener on the other side. Like, the people who are home wish they could work. People who are working wishes they could be home. And trust me, the people who are healthy don't wish they were sick. And the people who are sick are usually the most grateful people. They're
Yeah, that's true.
and I'm going to tell you why right now, Raymond. I'm going to slap you with it here. It's because they're closest to God, and
Yeah.
that's why. When you get stuck with something like that makes you reflect on your life, all of a sudden you can't help but feel that spirit of God inside of you. And so that's where all that gratitude usually comes from, is from a divine place.
Yeah, I mean, God works in the brokenness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen to your own words here. God works in the brokenness. We are broken right now. Our class is broken.
Hmm.
The thing that we thought was going to be the way that it was isn't. But what are you? Like, think about this. You are the first, maybe the only generation to graduate under these circumstances. So if you're the first, then you have a responsibility to set the new tradition that everybody else is going to live by.
Yeah.
If you're the only, then you have the responsibility to write down in the history books, this is what we did, this is what our generation did when we couldn't do what all the other people did.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a good point, and it's such it's something that I don't think I or a lot of other people thought about in this time.
It turns your sadness into excitement if you allow that to
Yeah,
happen.
it's an opportunity instead of something that's pulling us down.
That's exactly right. Um, I've got right now my oldest, my 8-year-old. He is now known for coming into the studio with me until midnight, and he's a healthy eater usually, so he really likes to eat like different proteins, usually chicken or meat of some kind. And so the other night he was up with me, and we were actually at home, and we were I think we were watching a movie at the time, and my wife comes out, and she was just surprised that he was awake, and it was midnight, and he's just eating salami. And so, long story short, his nickname has become Midnight Salami. So so I've got Midnight Salami here, and he was here last night, and he was helping me organize old stuff, and I was going through just paperwork for that I just hadn't gotten to in forever. It's just old files and things. So you don't need to keep papers beyond a certain date. So we just had a bunch of stuff to like shred, and so I got a shredder, and he was sitting here. He was on the shredder for about 3 hours last night.
Wow.
My 8-year-old just shredding papers, and he was grateful to be doing it. He was grateful to have time with me. He was grateful to be out of the house. But those are things that we've had to frame in him. We've had to frame those thought processes in his mind. But I'm telling him the same thing I'm telling you. This is an opportunity. Like right now, you get an opportunity as an 8-year-old to be doing things that other 8-year-olds don't get to do.
Yeah.
You get the opportunity to do things that you were not able to do a month ago. Like, Dad didn't used to bring you to the office till midnight because it wasn't the thing that I used to do. But now I'm living in the new world, and I don't know what the new world looks like, but I know it's an opportunity. I know it's a land grab. You know what a land grab is?
Yeah.
So this is the land grab. This is the gold rush of our generation because things are shifting. So you got to think to yourself, how do I grab land really quickly?
Yeah.
And
I
and,
mean,
and you're gonna fail a lot. You're gonna fail a ton. So it's like what is out there that I could possibly do that can make an impact? Because everything's about to shift. Where do I fit, and how can I get in on it quickly?
right. And one thing, like before this entire thing hit in normal school, I was a pretty busy guy. I'd go to normal, clubs and things like that, and I probably wouldn't get home some nights until like 6 or 7 p.m. From like whether it's church group or whether it's worship night at school or whatever. But I mean, now with this, I get an opportunity to spend so much time with my mom before going off to college that I just wouldn't have gotten
Yeah.
without this. Like, I mean, I know people saying like once they get to college and once they move out, they're like, I wish I had, some more time back at home. And now I have the opportunity to get this time, with family.
Incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Speaking of family, you mentioned something about your dad here, and is that something that you want to talk about? You're okay with talking about right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a time like this, when you're, in close quarters with family, and then maybe not in so close quarters with other parts of your family, like how do you deal with those kind of relationships in a time when, you're either really, really close to someone or, kind of forced apart?
So what's going on with you and your dad? We got to start there.
Yeah. Um, so my dad and I have kind of had a rocky relationship through high school. He hasn't really exactly been supportive of my time at Brophy, and it's kind of taken a toll on our relationship. And as I get closer to going off to college,
Does
and as
does he does he live in the house?
no, he doesn't.
Okay.
They got divorced when I was around 6 or 7.
Okay.
So yeah,
So that's
and
tough.
I haven't.
And then do you know his why?
No, I don't.
Why do you think
Of what?
why he's not supportive of Brophy?
Um, he's not a Christian, and he's
Okay.
against Christian education.
But
So
there's
I
a
believe
there's a
that's his.
ton of there's a ton of kids that go to Brophy that are not Christian though.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a ton.
yeah. I mean, we've hashed it out a few times, and I've tried to talk to him about the why and about the why I want to go to Brophy and the why he doesn't want me there.
Hmm.
But it ended up just being a
What did he say?
it ended up in just kind of a standstill, saying like, I don't want you going to an all boys school that's forcing religion down your throat. And I mean, Brophy's not that at all. And
Right. But on paper it is.
yeah,
You know, on paper it is.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was one of the things that I was looking at before I went there. But I mean, I wanted the opportunity to have an outlet where I could talk about my faith in school, because in
So
public school I
so
didn't really.
how are you able to go there? Are you scholarshiped or are your parents paying for it? How does that work out?
Yeah, my dad doesn't support me in it, so my mom's taking a heavy burden on it. But I've worked as I can to get family support, and as much as I can get financial wise.
Uh-huh. So dad doesn't help out at all with the schooling?
No, he doesn't.
Okay. That's all
Yeah,
right.
and I mean, and and after I went into Brophy freshman year, our relationship kind of spread out even more. We kind of stopped talking as much. I stopped going over to his house, and we kind of broke things off. We've tried to rekindle things. Me going over there every once in a while to try to talk to him about it, but nothing's really panned out.
Sure, sure. So when you say you're trying to work things out, is he ever trying to work things out on his end, like
Um,
like reaching out
Not
to
that I
say
can see.
hello or nothing like that?
Not not really.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean that's obviously tough. You suppose he's hurt?
I mean, yeah, it's possible. Probably more than possible. But I mean, if you can't sit down and talk it out, I mean, it's something that, and I don't want my relationship with my dad to be strained like this. I want to be able to fix it before I move away to a different state and before I, you know, move on to a different chapter. But, you know, this kind of situation makes it hard to have that kind of conversation as well.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I think it's important that we dive into this actually, if you're willing to, because
Yeah.
this is a, I mean, this is a pretty big topic. You know, the father son relationship is messy, it is scary, it is hard, um, and and guys can be prideful. You know, men in general can have this thing where when they think they're right and they don't want to back down from being right, they can have a hard time with that. And there's a generation that's that's been passed down, the generational sins, I say, that have been passed down among men to not feel, to not tell their kids how they're feeling, to to put up some sort of a front or whatever. So, is does your dad have a rough financial state, or is he fine in that area?
No, he's pretty well off. I mean, he's an anesthesiologist, so he's a doctor.
Okay, okay. So so he helps out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he contributes to the family.
Yeah, I mean, he pays child support.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean, he's not unsupportive financially at all.
yeah, and his child support then as an anesthesiologist is going to be substantial.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
You know. Okay. So here's and this is without me having lived in your shoes, at least entirely, because I am both a father and a son.
Yeah.
So some of this stuff I've been through. And my dad's a doctor, so there you go. So we're connected in that way. And my parents got divorced. And I mean, there are more similarities maybe than differences. And so here's where the acting comes in. I think you mentioned on your sheet that you said, I'm not an actor, so I don't know how, I don't know how that's going to go. Well, what's interesting is we are all actors. Okay, so you're an actor and you're the star of your life. You're the
Right.
lead role. And what we teach is listening at a really high level. We teach truth. We teach authenticity, connectedness with other people. And that is what it takes to be a great actor. Well, it just so happens that that's what it takes to be a good person too. The same attributes. So you are an actor. And what's interesting, and I didn't realize how biblical this was until later on, but the way you can look at your father or any person, if you choose, is you can choose to see them as the lead role, a character in the play of their life.
Mm.
Okay, so when I go to take on a character, what do? I have the responsibility as an actor to find inside that person what makes them them.
Right.
And if I believe what I believe, then I believe the center of every person is love. God is love. The center of every person is love. So that includes my enemies. That includes my dad. That includes your dad. Eventually, that's the center. If that's my belief system. So then I think, okay, my dad's made mistakes. Who hasn't?
Right.
Right. So then I go through, okay, so what are all the things, if I can look at this character's backstory, that made them probably. So you go, okay, so then what led to this, which 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 would make this person feel this way, talk this way, treat me this way, etc. And if I use my imagination and I go with like probable, then all of a sudden I can have deep sympathy for the person who is hurting me.
Right.
So on a very surface level, it looks like this. I'm at the store and I go to check out, and the person behind the counter is a total jerk to me. And I've done nothing wrong. Nothing. All I did was walk up to the counter, and they are just cold, they are mean, it just nasty. Now I have a choice in this moment. I've done nothing. I don't even know this person. My instinct is to say, man, screw you, you know, when I leave to talk about the person, to say, what, I mean, you would not believe, babe, the jerk that I just talked to at the counter. I mean, unbelievable how mean this person was and blah, blah, blah. Or I can choose to love them despite of themselves. Do they deserve it? It depends on how you look at it. If I use my creative skills and I picture this person and I go, there's a chance that this person is going through a loss, that they've lost their mother, they've lost their child, like they're going through something. It can't be about you. It's not personal. They don't know you.
Right.
So this choice of mine is going to I'm either going to be another just like side character in this person's life that comes in and out for a second, or they're going to get hit with love. They're going to get smacked in the face with my love, and I no matter how they treat me, I'm still going to just say, I'm going to try to make their day good before I leave. I'm going to be grateful for them. I'm going to thank them for the work that they're doing. And that same person who's just full of all this like anger, they will be changed. Even if you don't get to see it, you're going to leave and they're going to go, well, that person was nice. And they got to handle that. You know what I mean? They got to deal with it.
Right.
So, and that's the probable thing. The probable thing is that they're going through something because it can't be about you.
Yeah.
It hardly ever is. So then we go, and now we backtrack all the way to people who are close to you, and you think, okay, why, oh why would this person think this way and talk this way and blah, 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 okay? And I go into, the difference between being a believer in Jesus and a believer in God and a believer in religion. And I think they're two different things, because religion is man-made. No matter how you slice it, it's man-made. Religion in and of itself. So according to the Bible, you and I are going to church right now.
Yeah.
When two or more are gathered, and it doesn't say two or more are gathered in person. It just says two or more are gathered, right?
That's true.
So technically, we are in church right now. You and me and Joey over here.
We've never been to church together, Raymond.
Oh no. There.
So there we go. This is our first time. So if I look at this and I go, okay, what if I force myself to ask myself the hard question? And this is hard. This is hard. I'm going to tell you, this is hard. What if my dad is actually loving me? The wrong way? Yes. In a way that's hurting me? Yes. But what if he is loving me? What if, in his mind, he's trying to protect me because he's been hurt somehow, some way, by something in his life? Something in that backstory of his was tough when it comes to religion and when it comes to certain things being shoved down your throat, was his words, right? Because it's not like he doesn't want you to get a good education.
Right.
It's not that. So that what happens is you enable yourself to have grace.
Mm.
And you go back to your why and you say, I want to be in a school where I can speak publicly about my religion. Well, you know, I'm gonna throw it at you hardcore here, bud. That's the easy way.
Yeah. Yeah.
The hard way is to speak about your religion in public when it's not the popular thing.
Right.
And then when it comes to your dad, here's my advice for you. My advice for you is to love him despite himself. Love him as the character of his life who is flawed. See him as a child of God who's been abused in different ways that you'll never understand, because he'll probably never tell you. Or maybe he will, but probably not. A character like your dad and my dad and his dad before him didn't talk about those things. So it comes out in hard ways. I'll tell you a little thing about my dad and me. So I was supposed to be a doctor. That was what my dad wanted. He had no idea how to do it, how to force me down that path, but he really wanted to. He failed because every time he would try to get me to work in that capacity, all he would talk about is the negative things. My dad's a bit of a pessimist. So I would hear all the bad, and then he would put me in jobs at his office where I'd be like filing papers and stuff. And I wasn't helping people. If he put me in a position to help people early on, and that was the job I was doing for him, like I would be a doctor probably, because I love helping people. I don't like filing. Like that is like this doctor stuff stinks. You know, I didn't want to be a doctor. But I got all the way through pre-med because I was going to just do what Dad told me to do. And I went to the physical college, by the way, because I know that's another one of your questions is that's scary not to go to the physical college that I've been planning on, you know.
Yeah.
I went to the physical college, but I didn't have the right perspective on it. So a lot of those years were wasted, and they were spent on me trying to do what the generation before me did, which is I think what your generation is stuck on right now. You know, I was trying to just be popular and join the right clubs and do the right things and, you know, all that stuff. And it turns out those things are unfulfilling. Those things are hollow. You know? So anyway, so I get through the most of the pre-med stuff, and I drop my classes. And my dad was, he was angry, and it was hurtful, and he didn't want to talk to me. And I got sick, dude. I was sick for like 2.5 weeks. I had cold sores in every area of my mouth. I was feverish. Like I couldn't get out of bed sick. Only time this happened to me in my life. From the stress of that, from the stress of letting him down, you know. But I stayed the course, and it was really, really hard, you know. And he was unsupportive. And unsupportive and unsupportive and unsupportive. And it was hard, and it was hard, and it was hard, and it was hard. And then I decided I was going to move to New York to do some more training as an actor. And he's unsupportive. Why would you do that? You know, blah 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 blah. You know the statistics, and you're gonna this is a failure thing, and blah blah blah. And I mean, just tough.
Yeah.
The day I was moving to New York, though, that morning, I'll never forget it. I got my bags packed, and I'm leaving. I'm saying goodbye, and he cracked. The egg cracked. My dad wept right in front of me, just wept hard. And he looked at me and he said, "Matt, what you're about to do is really hard. The success rate is really low." And then he starts crying more, and he says, "And I can't help you." So it turns out he was being so mean to me because he was trying to love me, because he wanted to help me. It was all the wrong ways. It hurt me. I don't recommend it. If I could go back, I'd tell him, I'd be like, hey, don't treat your son like that. It's not cool. But having grown up now and looking back, I can see through his lens, he was trying to help me. Now, why? Okay, my dad went through the Great Depression. He went through his family having no money. He's the oldest of 5 kids. He had to make the money for the family because his dad lost his job, lost his business. His mom couldn't work. Literally, he was the one bringing in food. And what is being a doctor? It is let me just tell you right now, the buzzword, it's an essential job.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Right now, being an acting coach is not an essential job. So he's right in that way. Like, he's right, and he wanted to put me in a position where I'd be in something that was safe, that he could help with, that would be, you know what I mean? That he's thinking of me, trying to love me, now in all the wrong ways, and it's not okay, but I can forgive him, and I can forgive him immediately, and I can go into this place of what does he actually need? He needs love. He's the guy behind the counter who just needs me to love him anyway and not focus on the negative things. So I came up with this exercise, and I'm going to share it with you, and I'd love for you to try this with your dad. It's called the bubble exercise. You put everybody in your life in a bubble. You put mom in a bubble, dad, all your friends, anybody you care about that you'd like to keep in your life gets a bubble. Here's what the bubble is. The bubble is the expectation that I have of you based on your backstory, based on what I know, based on your previous actions. So the example I wrote about in the book is I use my dog so I don't offend anybody. My dog Champion's he's the most loving, chubby Labrador you'll ever meet. I would leave him alone with one of my infant children in a room without thinking twice because he's such a loving dog. I have zero fear of him doing anything bad. He's potty trained, all that stuff, and he's just a good dog. But one thing we could not train him on was eating food off the counter. We couldn't train it out of him. His instinct is like, if there's food, he's got to have it. He's addicted to food. So there have been times when my wife has cooked up, and I'm talking about the turkey dinner, like the big ones. That's right. And look the other way, and the dog gets up on the counter and ruins the night. Now, did he ruin the night? Really? No. If the night's ruined, it's our choice. We let the night get ruined just because the food got eaten.
Right.
There's been times when I went out and got a meal that I was really looking forward to, bought it, had it all like prepared, all set and ready to go. The dog had been let out, and then somebody let him in. Same thing. He eats my food. And we used to get really mad. We'd be like, Champ, and then we'd smack him, and throw him outside and all that. It didn't help. It didn't change anything. He was who he was. Okay? So then we figured out, you know what? Since he's not going to change, we have to change. We have to change who we are and how we do things, and we have to be very careful when it comes to food. And we have to change our behaviors because we know one thing about Champ, he's going to eat the food. That's not going to change. If we don't change, whose fault is it that he eats the food? It's ours. We brought it upon ourselves. Okay? So let's go back to your dad, my dad, anybody connected in a certain way. You know certain things about certain people. If I bring up Christianity, if I bring up religion, if I bring up Brophy, if I bring up certain things, how's it going to go? Not good. Those are triggers. I don't understand them, but I know he's a person. I believe, because I'm a believer, that he's a child of God. I believe that he has a backstory that is causing him to feel these things. So if I bring it up and he reacts when I know he's going to react, because that's the bubble I've put him in, then now all of a sudden I need to take responsibility for the fact that I am actually bringing the pain upon myself.
Yeah.
But if I call dad and I say, hey, I just want to say thank you for being on the front lines and being a doctor. I'm really proud to be your son. Hang up the phone. It's a different conversation.
Yeah.
You say, hey, this quarantine thing has made me think of things differently, and I just want to say I'm sorry for everything leading up to now. I'm just so sorry, and I want you to know that I love you, and I just wanted you to hear that. Hang up the phone. And then if he says, well, yeah, I'm glad you were thinking that way. Finally, Raymond, finally. About time. And I told you, like, that school stinks, and, and the blah, 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 and the religion's the worst, and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? He can say anything he wants from inside the bubble because it's expected. You can't hurt me inside the bubble because I expect that to happen. So then it doesn't hurt anymore. So then instead of hearing those words, I choose to hear, he's trying to love me from inside a place. He's trying to reach me, and I'm not gonna hold him accountable for his weaknesses and him not being able to reach me in a certain way. So instead of reacting to him as the person behind the counter, I'm gonna react to him with love.
Show him the love of Christ within.
That's right. That's right.
That's
right. And any words you use, Raymond, you hold yourself accountable for. Your tongue is your responsibility. So you fighting back, you bringing up things that you know are going to not go well, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But you saying sorry? Because here's the thing, you probably have said and done things that weren't perfect when it comes to your father-son relationship.
Oh, for sure.
So therefore, you can be sorry. It's okay. And he doesn't have to be, but he will. My whole viewpoint on Christianity is, what can I do? How can I live in such a way that gets other people curious? And then someone says, dude, what's up with you? You're different. Like, you don't seem like the same person. Like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, I'm changed. There's like new things going on with me. Well, what'd you do? Dude, I want that. Like, you seem so happy. I am. I'm really happy. Well, what are you doing? How do you do this every day? And you're like, well, you really want to know? Yeah. Here, let me show you this book.
Wow.
Because if they come to you, then you get to be a vessel of God. But if you're trying to force certain things on certain people, they won't be able to hear it the way that you've presented it necessarily. The way that it makes sense to you is not always the way it's going to make sense to other people. But you can become a walking disciple based upon your actions and based upon the people that hurt you, honestly. And if you choose to, have you looked up the sacrifices it takes to become an anesthesiologist?
It's a lot, yeah.
It's unbelievable, Raymond. It's unreal. Your dad's a smart dude.
Oh yeah, he is.
And a little weird. Because I know doctors. I've never met an anesthesiologist that's not a little weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's probably a brilliant guy who's a little weird, who's made some mistakes, who has had certain things happen to him or his family members or something, and something is damaged or hurt there, right? So you can love him, you can forgive him, but you can focus on gratitude. You can focus on, and again, you'd have to go backwards. Like, when did your dad become a doctor? When did he meet your mom? Like, when were things good? Because they were, I'm sure, at one point.
Yeah.
And they fell off. And guess what? Even that takes two, always. Even if dad cheated on mom, and this would be a conversation for another time, because I can speak to you on certain levels as a a child of a divorced family and being in the middle of some of the roughest stuff, even if that's the case, you don't know all the details. You don't know all the ins and outs. You don't. So to judge is not what we're being called to do.
Right.
You know, and right now you mentioned how great it is to be at home with mom. How great is it for you to mend this relationship with your dad, and to mend it in such a way that is not you getting your way, is not you getting him to say you're right and I'm wrong. Because what's the point of that? It's just the way the father's supposed to love the son and the son's supposed to love the father. I mean, we're demonstrated that. You're called to honor your father and mother. Honor them. So in any way you can, you should try to do that. Try your best not to focus on all the weaknesses. Try your best not to focus on the things that he's done wrong, but focus on, and again, like I said, I don't know the details of all the when, but probably there was a time when you were born and dad held you in his arms and cried. And dad said, "This is my son, like my son right here." And he's proud of you. There's a time that was true. And you've grown up and you've been prideful, and he's grown up and he's been prideful, and we're in this place where we're stuck. But there was this time when you were a baby and he looked at you and said, "That's my boy right there. That's my son." And if you can remember that there was a time that he was holding you in his arms, there was a time that he thought of you, and you were part of what motivated him to work hard, what motivated him to go above and beyond and do all the sacrifices it takes to become a doctor, because he wanted a good life for you. And when he tells you he doesn't want you to go to a certain school, doesn't want you to do a certain thing, he's probably wrong. Parents are wrong a lot. That's one thing. Like you, I guess you find this out as a kid. You find it out at a certain point that dad and mom are not heroes, and some of us find it out earlier than others. But as soon as you figure it out, you go, "Oh, they're actually not a superhero. They're flawed in incredible ways, and they're just trying to do their best on this earth the way we are." Once you figure that out, that they're not superheroes, you go, "Okay, dang, now what?" Like they've been trying their best to do certain things, but they're failing, like miserably failing. So your dad might be in a season of he's failing to connect with you. But where has he succeeded, though? I mean, from what I've seen of you, you're a pretty darn nice dude.
Thank you.
You got a good head on your shoulders. You're smart. You love people. You want to help people. You want to connect in certain ways, and you have this. You have these scars right now, and if you can look at it this way and say, these scars are what make me me.
Yeah.
And if I can find a way to heal these scars, if I can find a way to connect without having to be right, and find ways to connect just because of love, then I don't know what's on the other side of that, but I know it's going to be good. And you get there, then you can help other people, because then you go, "I get it. I understand. I was just as angry as you, dude. I get it. And you're entitled. You can be that angry. I totally understand. But you don't have to stay there if you don't want to." And then you can help the next guy. And that would be it's because this is your story that you get to use this story to help the next person. But you got to get through it, And you got to make the hard choices. There's a guy, Les Brown, he likes to say, "If you do it as hard, your life will be easy. If you do it as easy, your life will be hard." I'll give you another analogy. I'm full of them today. So, there's this crisis happening, and the government is offering loans to businesses for certain things to try to help bridge the gap. So I've never borrowed money. No, that's not true. I have borrowed money. I have not done a big SBA loan. I've not brought in a venture capitalist or any of those things. Some opportunities came up, and I didn't believe in being in somebody's debt in that way, because I wanted to make sure we could run our company the way I wanted to run our company.
Right.
Therefore, also, it's intimidating to borrow money, and it's hard, and to understand the concept behind it is very difficult, and I never went through it. So now I'm having to go through it. No choice. I'm going through these long SBA loans. I'm figuring out different things. I got to find tax reports that I don't know where they are, and I've never really cared. Like I've had other people take care of that stuff for me. And so I'm digging, trying to find these reports, and guess what? Like I see that I'm weak in this area.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that I'm weak in this area. And I start pulling out things, and I get to a certain point where I know I'm not going to find it. And I'm going to have to call my accountant, and I'm going to have them send me the things. So the lazy part of me wanted to just put everything back, because I already know the answer, and just be done and move on. But there's a spirit inside me that's like, finish and stop being weak. So that's why my son's been shredding. I've been going through every file that we have for the last 10 years, looking at it, reading it, trying to figure out what's what, so that I can become stronger in the area that I'm weak in.
Mm.
That's the harder thing to do. So I'm willing to bring up the mess, to bring up this darkness, to bring up the hardness, and get through it. Because if I get through that, the next time anything comes up related to this type of thing, it's going to be easier because I did the hard thing now.
Right.
But if I make the easy choice now, and I could, then when it comes up again, it's going to be hard again. So the idea being, if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy. Well, having this conversation with your dad is going to be hard. At first, it'll be hard. Loving him despite himself will be hard. Deciding to put him in a bubble and just love him and zone out anything negative. I'm talking anything. You write down, for me. Just write it down. What are the things my dad's going to say that trigger me? He says this, and it gets me like that. And he says this, and and he likes to rip on the pastor, and it gets me like that. Right? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Write it all down and go, okay, now if he says any of these things, I'm not going to react. And just commit to it. That'll be hard, but as long as you have it in front of you and it's like, okay, I knew he was going to say that, no big deal. How do I counter this comment with love? How do I comment this with love? Instead of coming back from the same place, thinking you're going to get a different result, you're not going to.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really good advice.
You're welcome. Dude, I am so excited for you. This is going to change the course of your life. You make this decision. And your dad will probably never see this video. And it's okay. Yeah. And it's okay. He may never relate to religion the way you do. And that's okay. My wife, non-denominational Christian. I was Catholic. I went to their church that I now go to, but I went to their style of church, and I did not like it, dude. I adamantly did not like it. I thought it was disrespectful that everyone's wearing shorts. I hated it. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're disrespecting my God that I love. I dress up for my God. What are you guys doing? I didn't like it. I didn't like the hands in the air. I didn't like the popular, trendy song. I didn't like it because I wasn't used to it.
Right.
Whether I like it or not is irrelevant. I go to church for my family. I go to church to be closer to my wife and to be close to God. And I can find a way to go to church, you and me, on a Thursday morning. So I go to a place like SBC because I want to. But don't kid yourself, man. Every church is only as strong as its leader, and every church is as weak as something comes out about the leader. That church crumbles, man. Mm-hmm. You've seen it happen time and time and time again. So you don't want to put your and I bet you anything Jamie would back me on this. That you don't want to put your faith in Jamie.
No.
You don't want to put your faith in the building. Those things are nice, but they're, and Jamie does what he does, but he's not perfect. Yeah. So we're lucky maybe that he's not perfect in ways that are okay. But that's the truth, So you got to go, okay, like I can forgive my dad in very big ways, and by doing so, that might be the only way I could actually help him and potentially get him on the track of becoming curious.
Yeah.
And you're going to be, like, I can already feel it, Raymond. You're going to be whole in a new way that you've never been whole before. I think you can feel it too. Like you have an opportunity in front of you to just approach this situation differently than you ever have before. And they're baby steps. Like, don't try to do it all at once. That's what I said. That's why I said hang up. Mm-hmm. That's why I said, hey, I'm so proud of you, Dad. Like, I can't believe my dad is out there on the front lines. My dad is a doctor right now. Like, I just want you to know that despite anything I've ever said, that's pretty cool, Dad. And just wanted to say thank you and I love you. I know you're busy. Hang up. Call him when you know he's busy. Leave a message. And don't expect a response. Then a day later, find a new reason to call him, to be grateful and to be, to say sorry. And hang up the phone. And you wait what happens. You will break that man down with love, because love is too strong. It's going to win. Right? Love's going to win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Luke Skywalker is going to win. Okay? It's going to be a battle, but he's going to win. So you just can't give in to the other side. You got to stay the course, and you have to say, okay, this is a very specific strategy here.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get Dad to go to my church. I'm not trying to get Dad to say Jesus out loud. I'm not trying to get Dad to be cool with Brophy and wave the flag.
Right.
I'm trying to get Dad to talk to me. I'm trying to get Dad to hear that I love him, in case he gets sick on the front lines. In case something happens to me or him or something, I need him to know that despite all this, I love him. So if you go at it like, this is my strategy, here's my outcome I'm looking for, and I'll do anything, I will sacrifice anything to get there, then you'll get there. And this will ultimately change the course of your life, because you will now, in whatever capacity he's able to and willing to, you will now have a father helping bridge some of that gap, filling in some of that hole that hurts. I mean, it's a really deep hole, and you need him and he needs you.
Yeah. Thank you. I can see it.
Yeah. Dude, I'm literally very pumped for you.
Thank you.
All right, so we got to finish this off. Hopefully this is helping some people out there. If you're going through father-son issue, father-daughter, mother-daughter, even sibling stuff, if you can think about these concepts and realize that there is an out, there's something that you can do about it always, but it's not going to be easy necessarily, and you'll have to be willing to make more of a sacrifice on your end. If you are right now in high school and you're a senior especially, I want you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm praying for you, and I'm not gonna lie, it stinks. You don't get to do the stuff you wanted to do, you were thinking about doing. That stinks. You may not get to go to college in the way you thought. Okay, now, what can you do? That's the next question immediately is, what can I do? What are the opportunities? And what did this save me from? A lot of us went to college. We went the route that everybody else went, and it didn't necessarily serve us. Like, it was a place for us to party and a place for us to make bad decisions and do certain things, and you don't necessarily need that in your life. So just know that there is going to be a good that comes from this for every person if they choose it. There is a good that's coming from this. It's not a guarantee, but you have to go out there and do it. You have to listen to Spirit, and Spirit's calling you to do certain things, and then you make the decision. So we take our boy Raymond here, and he's in this place. He's feeling stuck. Well, what did he do? He reached out. You know, Brian, I think, probably called him, and he connected, but he said yes. Like, he said yes to being on this show, and why. You know, he put out the extra effort, wrote down some questions, like, thought about some things. That takes effort. It takes work to make the decision and to be vulnerable and allow yourself to have these feelings out loud. By doing that, you're going to get to the other side of something, and you'll find out that you're lucky. Like, it turned out in a really good way for you, and you go back and go, I'm so glad that my first year of college was the way that it was, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have met her. Or if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't have done that. Like, your life's about to be better. You just don't know it yet. And the thing that's got everybody scared is the uncertainty. It's the fact that I don't know. That's the thing that's got everybody scared. So that's where, if you are a person of faith, of any kind of faith, now's the time to tap into that thing. Tap into faith. Because if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And right now, we all have to have faith that this is happening for good. There's something good coming from this, and we have faith that it's going to be just awesome on the other side. And if you believe that with your whole heart, it's a guarantee. It's an absolute guarantee. There's even beautiful things that come from death. All right, that is our show, Mornings with Matt. Dude, Raymond, you're the man, buddy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice.
You got it, man. I love you. I hope that helped you and some other people out there. If you are watching right now, we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel. That means the world to us. If you can share some of these videos. If you know somebody who's going through the college experience right now, and are just like getting out of high school and they need to hear this message, please share the video. If you know anybody who's a dad or a son who's struggling with that kind of relationship, you can share. The more we can get this light-driven content out there to the world, you'll be helping us in a big way. And essentially, you're helping us help others. That is the way we look at it. So thank you so much. God bless. Have a great day.